All right. Here we are, guys. Welcome back to Off the Wall. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sol.
We are talking about the final episode of the only season of Secret Invasion. I don't know where to start. I really don't. I'm so frustrated. I'm really frustrated, Sol.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's because we've been burned so many times and I'm like, well, this burn didn't hurt as much as other burns.
Yeah, I've been burned worse, but still burn.
Or if it was just like, well, they still wrapped up the story, which is like the least they can do. But some of the other shows didn't even do that. So it's just like, well, they hit that tier. For me, this like general thoughts, there was some stuff in this episode that I absolutely loved, and there was stuff in this episode that I hated. Hate.
Double hate, loathe entirely.
Yes.
There is some stuff in this episode that I adore, but there is some stuff in this episode that got my blood boiling. I don't know how I feel about this episode. I really don't. I have been stewing on it for about 24 hours now, a little more because I watched this yesterday morning. I cannot decide if I'm satisfied with this finale episode. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. What's the first thing that jumps out to you that's screaming in the front of your brain right now?
Well, if we want to go with some positives,
please.
Like I joked before, this show could be called Two Actors in a Room, just
trying to
amazing.
Each other.
Yeah. Olivia Colman, love her in every iteration that I've seen her in the show. She is fantastic and lovely, and more of her, please. There's just still some wonderful acting that's coming off of Samuel L. Jackson, whether when he's Gaia Fury.
Gaia Fury.
Gaia Fury, yeah. Because before the ridiculousness and the stuff that you and I probably both hate, I'm guessing we hate the same thing. The acting that Samuel L. Jackson is doing with Kingsley Ben-Adir and the acting that Kingsley Ben-Adir is doing is just chef's kiss. What they're speaking about is awesome. And so Samuel L. Jackson, the tremors that he's having because of radiation poisoning and the acting that he has to do to convey that is amazing. And then also like in universe, the acting that Gaia has to do to convey that and make Kingsley Ben-Adir believe that that's Samuel L. Jackson was also really good.
Like she said, she's a good liar.
She's a good liar, and she put on a good face. What happened after that?
I could watch the sequence of Gravik telling off Fury on repeat. That entire exchange is incredible.
Yes.
I think after I finished watching the episode, I did go back and watch it, like rewatch it a couple of times to really take it in, because I was just like, this is, like you said at the beginning, it's every episode has sequences of two actors just trying to outact each other and see who can chew the most scenery. And I'm here for all of that, especially here in the MCU. More of that, please. This episode has a really strong opening and a satisfying enough ending. It's everything in the middle that's troublesome for me. Do I like how the episode ended as far as setting us up for going forward? Yes. Do I like how we got there? Not particularly.
Yeah.
I apologize about the lights going right now. It's the middle of the it's 93 degrees in Dayton right now. The sun is beating on my house, and I don't get paid till tomorrow, so I haven't gotten my curtains yet. It is, but
Wait, you said it's 93 for you? It's 87 here in
shut up, shut up,
Miami.
just shut up, just shut up. Um, so like my positives, my love the openings, the whole first, I think, third of this episode is excellent. And then we hit some rocky waters, not the least of which is truly some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. When Emilia Clarke Gaia is having her shape-shifting superpower fight with Gravik, she looked, yeah, big old yikes pie. That CGI of Emilia Clarke when her arm transforms
Yeah.
and her head is missized to her body, it looked so ridiculous. So ridiculous. I'm gonna stop moving because it keeps making my camera go out of whack. So ridiculous. It's doing it anyway. So ridiculous. I was blown away with how bad that looked.
Yeah. Which I was like, do we need to just pay them more money? Because
I mean,
I think that's
yes.
what we need to do because these people that are working on CGI and animators don't get paid enough and have terrible hours.
Yeah.
And that fight was ridiculous. But even before, the setup to the fight is absolutely ridiculous. So
Oh, the harvest?
we have the harvest given, and up until that point, him giving him the harvest, that's fine with me. I'm okay with that. Him putting the harvest in the thing, okay, whatever. Like, because to me, I'm like, I can suspend my disbelief to this point. Where I could not suspend my disbelief is he left who he views as his enemy, Nick Fury, in the thing. Which maybe he's thinking he's a human, he's not going to get any power, maybe this, maybe that. But you know that Fury is steps ahead of you. You know that there's scrolls out there. I would have picked up Gaia Fury and yoinked them out of the machine when the machine was turned on, and I would get the powers, and Gaia Fury would not.
Yeah.
You dumbass allowed your enemy to become just as OP as you, and apparently more so. How did Gaia Fury get more of the powers than Gravik? Who knows?
I don't know. I have problems with the fact that they got the harvest. Because the one thing I have said every week is the way this is set up, there's no way this can possibly end with a big CGI fight.
Right?
I have said that every week since the pilot episode. I have said there's no possible way this ends with a great big CGI fight.
They said, "Hold my beer."
A fucking way.
Hold my beer, Mike.
And it is frustrating. It is so frustrating. But even before that, I don't buy for a second that Nick Fury gave away that harvest. Not for one goddamn second do I believe Nick Fury would legitimately give away the harvest and put that much power out into the world, let alone for the Skrulls to get their hands on one way or another. Absolutely fucking not. At the minute Gravik scanned it and said, yeah, it looks pretty pure, and then everything just worked out for it, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me?
I
You've
was like,
gotta be
"This is
kidding me.
stupid, but sure, okay, fine."
Yeah,
And then when he
thank you,
left
Brian.
Fury there, I was like, "The fuck are we doing?"
Thank you, Brian. They will always find a way. They will always find a way to do a big CGI fight. I was so already just frustrated with the fact that the harp was happening. And then the moment, like you said, that he turned on without moving him out of that was like the moment he turned it on without taking Fury out, all I could think was, oh no, they're not. Oh no, they're not. No, they're not. And I think the justification is probably that Gravik thought it would kill Fury because he said, I'm gonna kill you and then I'm gonna go do all this shit.
Yeah.
Sure. I think
I
they
mean,
were
you
I
could have
think
killed him with your powers after you went through the thing.
yeah. I was so and it was also blown away with the fact that both of them were able to just master their powers the moment they had them. They just knew
Mhm.
what all their powers were and how they worked. I don't both Amelia Clark and Gravik. Because
Right.
I've seen people online bitching about Amelia Clark being able to do it. I'm like, yeah, and Gravik was able to do it too, and that honestly makes it worse.
Yeah.
It's just as stupid.
This
That
is equal opportunity stupidity for both Gravik and
yeah.
Gaia.
Not to mention just the when like the suspension, I know, the suspension of disbelief I have to accept that they were able to go out and get pure viable DNA samples of all these people who were fighting out there
Yeah.
in Endgame, most of whom were aliens and able to manipulate it as if it was any other. That's a even for an MCU movie, that's a big suspension of disbelief, especially when you consider the names that were on that list.
Right.
Because it was Hulk, Abomination, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Thor Odin's son, Thanos. Thanos' name was on that list. Groot or Flora, whatever, Groot,
Yeah.
Cull Obsidian,
And then the what's her name?
Mantis,
Mantis.
and the Squidward looking dude from Infinity War. Like
Yeah.
the just Captain Marvel and the Squidward looking dude. I can never remember what the hell his name is. Uh uh nope,
Damn.
thought I had it and I lost again.
Yeah.
But just his insanely powerful telekinetic powers and all the powers of Captain Marvel, you've created the most
An
invincible being in the known
OP.
universe.
OP to the extent, and what I put in the Discord is that this was a
Thank you.
comic book fight. And I meant that in the worst
Yeah,
way possible. Because you know when you're reading an older comic book and the characters are too OP, like I'm not a big Superman fan because he's just very OP to
right.
me. There's a lot of villains that are very OP and they even speak about them as if like there's no way of defeating them. And then
Yeah.
you have to find some creative bullshit for the hero to win. So you knew immediately that Gaia was going to win, but it just looked like those like crappy drawings of like some of those comic books of like them fighting, and you're like, okay, I guess, sure.
Yeah, I and it ended. It was over so quick too.
Yeah,
That's not just the fight, but the episode. This is the shortest This is this episode when you
I
take
agree with
out.
this.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, that's the thing. You mixed all that DNA into one vial, and it's still usable. Not a scientist. Don't buy that.
Right.
But when you take out recap credits, opening credits, and closing credits, and the lack of a post-credit scene, um,
Right.
this episode's like 25 minutes, give or take.
Why do they do
That
this
is
to us, Mike?
insane.
Why do they
That is
do?
insane.
Because we started out,
An
the
hour
first
long,
episode was almost an hour, and we were like, wow, we're actually getting some good
and it was
shit here.
slow paced, and
Yeah.
it was good.
And very character focused, and the acting was good, and the writing was good. Did someone else direct, write,
The finale.
this finale, because it is completely different from every other episode that we've gotten, that has just been
It's the
so
same.
well paced, so well written,
It's
so
the
well
same crew.
acted. Yeah.
Same writer, same writers
What
and director.
what the crap happened did and here's the thing, you know how we've been like in Kevin Feige we trust, but you know what? Kevin Feige is also responsible for all of these shows.
Yes, he
And did
is.
he get up his own ass too much that these shows are coming out and just ending like complete shit shows because him or the other higher ups are getting into this and ruining the creatives process? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I almost feel like they wrote and shot and did the finale first, and then because it feels so different from the other 5 episodes. That's the thing.
Right.
Tonally, pacing, editing, everything about this finale episode feels like a completely different show. So I'm wondering if they did the finale first and then we're like, now let's do everything that leads up to the finale, and suddenly, oh crap, we made a better show for the first 5 episodes. It doesn't line up with our finale. This finale feels so disjointed and
Mhm.
separate, and like I said, just from a completely different show altogether. And it's so frustrating. That's the word of the day here, kids, is frustrating,
We actually
because
had hope, guys.
I
We
was
had
so
hope.
sure they were going to nail it. I was like, possibly, they can't possibly. And of course, as Brian said earlier, they will always find a way. They found a way because again, just the way that this character of Nick Fury has been presented to us, there's no possible way he gives him the harvest. There's no way this is what they do. And they found a way. And
And he just leaves Amelia Clark
yeah,
afterwards on Earth, knowing how dangerous she is. Because Nick
yeah,
Fury always has a contingency plan. He has a contingency plan for each Avenger.
yeah.
And she's just left there. And maybe the contingency plan is Sonya, is Olivia Colman, but and I also kind of liked that whole thing of just like, "My father made a deal too." She goes, "Well, let's not let, love and friendship get in the way with that,
We're
shall
going to
we?"
use
And
you.
I'm
You're
like
going to use me.
yeah, I loved that scene there,
Yeah.
and to some positives, him and his wife having her actual face and
Mhm.
him loving her anyways. And I was like, my heart. And I was like, fuck you, show, for making me be like, "Aw," after you made me so
But
angry.
I loved all of that, but even that was frustrating because they were doing that whole sequence in front of some of the worst green screen I've ever seen too. It looked really bad. I was genuinely like, is it just my because I was watching it at the office, so I was like, is this because I'm watching it on my work monitor or something like that? And so I checked it out again when I got home on my TV, and sure enough, it was the same thing. I was like, what happened?
And the
What
JJ
happened here?
Abrams lens flare that we get
Yeah,
too.
it was it was I loved the acting that was happening, but
Mhm.
not the setting. Um one thing I appreciate about this whole show uh is Rhodey.
Yeah.
Because what I really liked was John Cheadle's handling of the character this season is the more into the weeds Skrull Rhodey or Scrody.
Scrody.
I don't want to say Scrody. This sounds like scrotum. That's Skrull Rhodey got into the weeds. Um, the more out of control he seemed to get, because when you first see him, he's talking shit, but he's calm, cool, collected. Rhodey. The
It's
more,
normal Rhodey talking shit that we've seen
yeah,
him do with Tony Stark a
it's
million
when
times.
it's when it's when it's when Skrull Rhodey starts to notice just how off the deep end Gravik has gotten, and how now I'm stuck going along with this plan. There's
That he becomes
aggressive
an asshole.
becomes an asshole to the point where like the president's giving him looks.
Yeah.
And he's probably remembering what Nick said about don't trust Rhodey, which is why when Nick gets to him in the hospital, he hesitates. That's why the president hesitates, is because
Mhm.
he's like, Rhodey has seemed odd, and Nick said not the truck. He might be on to something.
If that was our ending, if we had, because like one thing that I said is this show wrapped up stuff, which I
Yeah,
mean is a very low bar to hit, but you know, some of them have not hit that low bar.
yeah,
But I would have been more okay if we had the Nick Fury, actual Nick Fury, Sonya, Rhodey, hospital stuff, because that's spy thriller shit right there.
yep.
And that Gravik, he's not defeated, but he's subsided and he becomes a bigger issue in a further show or a further movie or
I don't know.
etc. And we don't have that stupid ass CGI fight or the harvest.
I Sorry, I'm really frustrated right now.
I
I've
know,
had a
I
day
know.
to sit on this, and it's just it's making me more and more. I just here's one thing I will say. There's an easy way to do this episode and not change a whole hell of a lot,
Right.
which is when Nick Fury shows up at the hospital to save the president, that should have been Gaia disguised as Nick Fury, going through, taking out the bad scrolls, taking out bad scroll Rhodey, and then changing back into Gaia form and being like, we're not all bad. Some of us are just
Yeah.
here to help. And then find a different way to handle real life Nick Fury being over in Russia with Gravik. Find a different solution for that. Because what we end up getting with the president's speech after all this really didn't sit well with me, because it
Yeah.
didn't make sense. Given how the
Yeah.
episode ended, it didn't make a lot of sense that he would react that way.
Yeah, especially too because we already have the news of Talos being there and helping save the president, and the
Yeah.
president's gonna know that before that speech. And throughout this series, the scrolls have been a allegory for immigration
Mhm.
and assimilation into countries that you have to immigrate to, especially if you're immigrating from a war-torn
Yeah.
area. They're war-torn, them and the Crees, but and the kind of the difference between being a good immigrant and kind of being like, "No, I'm proud of where I come from and this, and I'm not gonna assimilate, and I'm going to speak my language, and I'm going to do this and that,"
Yeah.
and then to have a fully the president of the United States going fully against a class of people, even though they're not human, they're a class of people,
Mhm.
did not sit so well with me as
Es
a grandchildren of immigrants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and especially because, like, we've spent, like, no time with this president.
Yeah.
Like, almost like this is the most screen time he's gotten the entire season, except
Yeah.
maybe the last episode, maybe,
I think you do like
the
my
one before
grandparents
that.
also came from a revolution, a war in
Yeah.
Cuba. So, yeah,
Um,
I'm just like, "This is not great. This is not great."
but, like, if this had been something we had seen this president struggling with the whole
Yeah.
season, like, he knew they were there, but was having to play it cool for, like, not starting a panic kinda thing, and this is something
Or
he had
even
struggled with.
knowing his policies, like, what if he
Yeah.
was a president that was very hard on immigration, like, in
Yeah.
generally, and then that includes aliens? We
Yeah.
don't know that about this president.
So when he was giving off this speech, because then, because even Fury says, like, I was listening to that racist ass speech you gave. Like, I'm sitting here going, like, okay, but, like, Was that out of character for him or was that typical? I don't know how shocked I'm supposed to be right now, other
Right.
than just, I'm surprised we're going in this direction. Okay.
And we know that Harrison Ford is going to be president eventually. So,
Yeah.
how important is this guy really?
Yeah. I I kept waiting. That's why I was so shocked there was no post-credit scene, because the speech that he gave was so out of left field. I was like, "Oh, he's a Skrull. I bet he's a Skrull."
Yeah.
Because remember, I had theorized last week that the person from the first episode that was looking down that we didn't quite see was like the secret person in charge behind Gravik and Rhodey. And so I was going to be like, "Oh, are we going to find out that it was the president this whole time?" But there is no post-credit scene, so it just feels like a weird out of left field, out of character moment. So I enjoyed the president being an illogical asshole with his ending speech. It just, my problem isn't that this is where the story went. My problem is I was just like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
I don't know. We know nothing about this president or like you said, or his policies. So I don't know if this is supposed to be shocking or on brand.
Yeah.
So something occurred to me earlier today, because this whole thing was about how he never found the Skrulls a planet. Thanos had a whole ass planet with a whole ass garden that nobody else was living on.
Yeah.
That they were able to find in Endgame. They were just like scan. Oh, look, there it is. Cool. We'll just and then they just fucking went there, and then they just fucking came back.
Yeah.
And Carol Danvers knew it was there because she fucking went with him.
Yeah.
Take the Skrulls there.
Right?
Problem solved. And that was because after that we hit the 5-year time jump.
Yeah.
So, and clearly Carol Danvers knew they were all. So just take him to what?
And then what we've seen in the trailer for the Marvels, and we're gonna see some Skrulls in the Marvels.
Yeah.
That planet that the Kree live on, she wiped everyone out, is what you're assuming from the trailer. So, like, there's a planet there too. Like, you killed all the Kree, just put the Skrulls there.
This does play into one thing I was happy with this episode, which is that it's setting us up for where we're going to be at in terms of the Marvels.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wouldn't be shocked if the Marvels, assuming it gets to come out on its release date, it might get pushed. They haven't decided yet. They might get pushed because of everything going on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Marvels picks up right after the end of this show, because we know that Ms. Marvel overlaps with it because of the post-credit scene. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's where this is all going to fit in with everything.
Yeah. And another frustrating thing that I have for me, and this is me like literally nitpicking, but because I'm frustrated, I'm gonna
I took notes actually. My phone's in the other room. Shoot.
Because Gravik was killed.
Sure.
And Gravik is an amazing villain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm tired of us killing off amazing villains.
He's not
we
dead.
did it with Killmonger. We like
he's not dead. He's got extremists in him. Remember, he could just heal from that. We watched the folks in extremists.
That's where a post-credit scene would have really helped.
I agree.
Giant asshole in his body.
I know. I don't think he's dead. I think if he's dead, then what a waste.
What a waste, because first off, Kingsley Ben-Adir.
Yeah.
Both this and in Barbie, like the absolute 180 of his character between great actor, but I would have liked for the OP harvest battle to not happen, and for him to still be alive and him to be someone that we fight off. Because the thing is, I don't trust these fucking creators anymore. I think he's dead. I don't trust them to be smart enough to keep him alive.
Well,
So,
here's the thing. There aren't a lot of other projects in production right now. And they're looking for a wiggle around with the whole, they might be looking still for a whole wiggle around with the whole Jonathan Majors thing. So if you're looking to move away from Kang, having a still alive out there Super Scroll motherfucker who just crushed it on this show, it's an option. Just saying.
and here with Brian Brawler talking about the people on New Asgard, they're aliens too. And I think that is because they are
Yeah.
humanoid enough and they aren't shapeshifters because, like, they're not green aliens. It's that
Yeah.
whole good immigrant. They can assimilate more than the Skrulls can.
If there was another Thor project in the works, I might say you're a bit more onto something with that. But also, who knows? Because the thing you gotta remember too is we do have a Secret Wars movie coming,
Mhm.
and this is Secret Invasion. So who's to know what kind of setup we have coming that we don't even realize yet? So it's entirely possible that we could see all this play out. What it does make me curious about though is also because now we have an idea of a timeline of at least how long Rhodey's been there.
Yeah.
He's at least been there since after Endgame
Yeah.
because his legs don't work.
Yeah. Because, yeah, and you see that at the end of Endgame, he has those
The cybernetic legs.
cybernetic leg that just kind of look like the things that they put on you after you have a surgery on your
Yeah.
knee. I've had 2 surgeries on my knees, so that's why I was like, yeah, that's what that looks like, those little
Right.
um he's wearing that. He does not wear that in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And
True.
so I think that was Scrody, which goes back to my one of my very few complaints of the show before this episode was that I thought it took away from the conversation of 2 black men in America when he ended up being a Skrull, when that conversation between Rhodey and Fury. And it now takes away the conversation between Rhodey and Sam Wilson. So to me, I'm just like, these very important conversations that are happening between black men is literally between an alien chick and a black guy. An alien chick pretending to be a black guy and a black guy. And I'm like, that doesn't sit well with me.
I think the only reason they don't take away from it for me is just because of what the Skrulls have been going through and the allegory they represent. So I feel like it doesn't take away from it the same way it does for you. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just that's why for me I'm still on board with this because of what the Skrulls are being used to represent right now. They're kind of we have all these things that are kind of filling the void the X-Men would normally fill.
Hmm.
But we're not there yet. We still got a couple more years till we can get there.
All we got was a sound clip from Miss Marvel.
Yeah, well, that's more of a contract issue than anything else, but it's a frustrating finale, and I'm so tired of being frustrated by finales. I mean, House of the Dragons.
Reason Boggs doesn't watch these shows
Reason
anymore.
Boggs won't watch these shows anymore. It's why he hasn't been here for any of these. Like, look, House of the Dragon had a great finale. The Last of Us had a great finale. Other than that, I am trying to think of a show that I've watched in the last year and a half that hasn't ended frustratingly. Someone help me, because I got nothing.
Harley Quinn season 3?
Harley Quinn season 3. There we go. But it's just, I mean, yeah, Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, Obi-Wan, Mando season 3, Ted Lasso, now Secret Invasion. I'm just like, can we, guys, come on. It used to be that a
Please let
season,
Ahsoka be good. Please,
God,
please,
man,
dear God.
please. And Harley Quinn, you're starting tomorrow again, apparently. Still can't, or no, today.
Today.
It drops today. We're gonna do watch alongs, guys. Just be patient with us. please, I mean, Harley Quinn, look, you're 3 for 3 right now. 4 for 4 if you count the Valentine's special. Just please keep it up.
Which
But
who knows if you guys will ever see us
who
reacting
knows
to
if
the
you'll ever see the
Valentine's special.
reaction to that, because I'm tired of trying. So yeah, I am frustrated that I think this was one of the better finales we've had,
Low
but
bar though, low bar.
it's a low bar, and it's not by a whole lot. I mean, there's more about this episode that frustrates me than doesn't. I don't think the good quite outweighs the bad in this case.
I'm gonna just throw it back to Sean Wingbling here. Big ol'
Big ol'
yikes pie.
Yeah. And I know there's some people who are really into it. Or maybe aren't bothered by the same things. I was watching another show and they were theorizing it might have been. Yeah, I mean, you can go back that far too. It's really hard to say. Um, do we ever know if the Skrulls were affected by the blip?
I would assume so, because we learned through Carol Danvers that aliens on other planets were affected by the
Right.
blip as well.
Because
So I would assume
so
any
far
living being.
I would too, but we haven't heard any Skrulls talk about being snapped away. They all talk about how things were weird during the blip. I don't know. It's weird. I guess that would make me curious as to if they weren't affected by it for whatever reason.
I would assume that they were.
I would assume they were too. But yeah, so yeah, Civil War I could definitely see. Although he's still using the leg thing in Infinity War at the beginning when we see him.
And Endgame.
And an Endgame.
Wearing it at the funeral.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, but again, that could have been for show. Who knows?
Then why wouldn't he not wear it anymore?
Unless they were saying he was wearing it under his suit, maybe. I don't know, but
because he was wearing it over the suit.
I know.
At the funeral.
I know. I know. I know. I know. It's a frustrating finale, and it bums me out because I know the show wasn't hitting for everybody the way it was for you and me. I have had an absolute blast with the first 5 episodes of this season.
Right,
and
me too.
It hurts my feelings that it ended so frustratingly.
And it makes those people right.
God damn it. It does. I said the same thing about Ted Lasso. No, I'm kidding. I know I'm in the minority with that finale. So yeah, if you're watching this and you had a great time with this finale, I mean, that's awesome. I don't know how, but that's awesome. Good for you. Listen, we got more stuff coming down the pipeline. Harley Quinn season 4 is up is premiered today on Max. We'll be doing watch along reaction videos for that, like we did for season 3. We've got other reviews and stuff here. We're going to be reviewing Ahsoka when it airs, Blue Beetle when it hits theaters. So make sure you guys stick around for all of that. Go watch all of our other reactions and reviews we have here on the channel. There's a whole, it's so many. It's really quite a lot, actually. It's truly just shocking how many videos we have up. So go watch those. Make sure you guys like this one, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we will see you again next time here on Off the Wall. Bye.